Michigan beats Minnesota 52-10. And look, we are in an era of Michigan football where they are checking a box that, quite frankly, for the last 15 years, Michigan fans wanted them to check each and every Saturday. And Michigan was facing two opponents every Saturday. The opponent on the field, but fans also at the end of a game wanted to say, did they play well enough today to beat Ohio State? And there was a lot of angst because there were a lot of Saturdays where they could win a game on the field, but they wouldn't look good enough to beat Ohio State. And even when they did, there was like a prove it. But when you are beating the opponent on the field and feel like you are playing good enough to beat Ohio State at the end, and that goal, that looking good enough to beat Ohio State at the end, almost surpassed every other deal during that 2-decade stretch where they beat Ohio State so infrequently. And now they got two of those wins in their back pocket. I mean, the 30,000-foot view of Michigan football is very healthy right now. And they got tougher games coming up for sure. That last 3-game gauntlet is where they're gonna earn their money, and that's where it's really tough. But right now they are playing at a high level, offense, defense, and special teams.
Well, they are, and they still haven't been tested. The biggest test they've gotten so far this year, I think, came on Saturday in one aspect, and that was trying to stop the running game from Minnesota. And I, for the life of me, can't understand why any game plan against Michigan, if you were Minnesota, would include throwing the football.
They came out throwing the football.
I know, and that came with tremendous results.
Yeah,
with a pick six early and a pick six late. I mean, you may have had an advantage over with your running game against their run defense, and it didn't go that way. They didn't pursue that as much as I thought that they would try to, and things snowballed, got out of control because Michigan's the better team. BJ Fleck said it afterwards that this might be the best team he's ever faced. And Michigan is solid in every aspect of the game. Special teams, offense, defense. I mean, they get a pass rush when they need to. Will Johnson's phenomenal back there. Sainristil is really good as well. You're looking at Roman Wilson is developing into a really top-notch receiver. Blake Corum is as good as he is. Donovan Edwards is a nice understudy to have. It's a really, really, really well-built football team. And J.J. McCarthy's playing the best football he's ever played. But again, they haven't been tested yet. They're not going to be tested for a while.
Various tests along the way, like Nebraska had the nation's top-ranked rush defense. Michigan ran the football. Minnesota, one of the better rushing attacks in the Big Ten. And after the first, they had a lot of success with that stretch handoff and cutting back against the grain. And Jesse Minter made some changes. Michigan's been really good at the locker room. They haven't allowed a third-quarter point all year.
Yeah, and look, Nebraska didn't stop. I mean, they weren't stopping good teams. So you look past it a little bit. And then with Minnesota, unfortunate for the Gophers, they didn't have their best running back available, and that hurts them as well. But you don't apologize for that if you're Michigan. Nope. You just take it and move forward. The next test they're going to have is, again, it's another aspect of the game, and it's going into really hostile territory in East Lansing. That's probably the next big test they have because Indiana's not going to present much of anything. So, in Michigan State as a team probably doesn't, but the crowd might. So how do they respond to that? Are they mature enough just to go out there and handle the business on the field and let their play do the talking? Or are emotions going to get the best of them? I suspect they're going to let the play do the talking, and then you'll move on, and then you got the real test against Penn State coming down the road.
It's going to be interesting because Penn State will be playing in a 4-week span. Penn State's at Ohio State, Indiana, at Maryland, and Michigan. So Penn State is either going to be, if they get through Ohio State and Maryland, my suspicion is that Penn State will be favored against Michigan. And that's Penn State's real test. I mean, Penn State, that's a huge test for them, is that 3-week stretch. So